What's up, you guys? This is an upper body workout utilizing a Weider Ultimate Body Works or Total Gym and a pair of adjustable dumbbells. And as always, I'll link down below to some equipment links, as well as I think it's still available a good pair of adjustable dumbbells. That's pretty good for the price, in my opinion. And I try to keep that in mind, actually, if you're using adjustable dumbbells and the way I kind of set the workout out, which I'll explain to that later on. And I also have the workouts, or the circuit that I was following, timestamped down below if you guys are interested in that as well. Why I actually chose to do this particular workout, even though it was still like my shoulder, back, little arm day, upper body day that I was kind of doing, I actually brought this thing outside. I could have done a whole video on that, and I probably wanted to, but it was nice outside by me when I actually recorded this a few days ago before this workout, and it was pretty easy. I could just collapse this thing, and even though it's a little heavy, it's not that bad actually to bring outside. My kids wanted to play outside, so to kind of kill two birds with one stone, I brought this thing in the backyard. Towards the evening, it was kind of getting into, it was laid out, so it was nice. It's actually pretty cool thing that I've never really done before, and it just goes to show how portable and great that little Weider Ultimate Body Works is. So that's why I don't have the actual handle attachment. It was outside, so that made me think, well, I'll just carry the dumbbells out and use the dumbbells for workout. So that's why I'm doing that. So right now you're just kind of seeing me warm up with that single arm press. Normally, like you would have seen before, I might do the inverted shoulder press on this thing with the handlebars down below, but I decided just to do that single arm, which I think that single arm press, you could do that as a sole workout or a sole kind of shoulder exercise if you wanted to. I think that's actually a good exercise. It feels nice and fluid, feels easy. In fact, I would say with everything, and I know my next video is going to be some bad exercises I wouldn't do. There really isn't any workout or any exercise I'm doing that feels awkward to me. If it feels awkward or weird, I just discard it. Now, that's not to say it might not feel totally good with you, but I think for a lot of the exercises I choose and the way I kind of hold the grips, the way I kind of sit on the machine, it just feels a little more comfortable for me. So I'm not saying it's going to fit and work for you though. So that's why I'm kind of doing that. Also a good kind of plug again why I like these handles. I still use these handles that I bought from Amazon. I'll link those down below as well. I think there's that wider grip is kind of a little more forgiving, where it's not like scratching your arm as much as more as the cheaper, thinner one that came with the machine years ago. It's worth talking about one thing, actually, as I said that, people often ask me a lot, and I don't think I've ever discussed this, why don't I get a new machine or just upgrade it or maybe get like a Total Gym? And believe it or not, like I said, this is the very first machine I got. You can see it's the outdated version. It's exactly, I think, the same as the new Weider Ultimate Body Works. Again, at that time it was called, you can kind of see it, it's called like Body Works 5000, something like that. But really, there's minimal wear and tear. You can see it, like people say, well, it kind of bows in. That bowing in the middle of the machine, as you can see me on it, really doesn't bother me at all. I don't notice it. Sometimes people say it kind of tilts to one side. If it tilts a little bit or is rickety, again, I don't really notice it. It's not really a problem. There's some fraying on the side of the machine, but you can see, again, this machine is just still holding up. So point is, I'm not really going to buy a new machine or anything new until this thing really breaks. So I'm about ready to bring out the dumbbells here in a second, and I often still get questions about the dumbbells versus the Weider Ultimate Body Works. Like I said many times, I would go to the Weider Ultimate Body Works before I get a pair of dumbbells, but it's kind of to each his own. I do think, why do I even break out the dumbbells? Well, really, it's another different stimulus, and I just feel like, I have them, might as well use them. There's definitely some exercises that you can do that you can't do in a Weider Ultimate Body Works, a couple little nuanced exercises, but I think there is something to just picking up, heavier weight or pressing kind of raw heavier weight as far as like a, quote unquote kind of functional sense. So that's why you're going to see me kind of break those out. But from a pure, to use the word like muscle building or just building muscle, and just hypertrophy type training, I do think a lot of it is just constant stress and tension, as I said many times. And that is where this machine really kind of shines. You definitely could do that with dumbbells, but you'd have to kind of really find that weight that allows you to kind of choose a little bit lighter weight. You're going to see me using a little bit more heavier weight. That's just kind of some more kind of raw type pressing and pulling. I'm basically going to do a setup. I'll do double presses. I'll do single arm presses with the dumbbells, and then I'll do some kind of counteract that with the just some bent over rows. So these are, as you're seeing, just some kneeling presses. Again, I've said this before, I do this press a lot, kind of for two purposes. One, so that, if I'm standing up, I wouldn't be in frame, so that's one thing. But I did that for one video a while ago, and I actually noticed that really I kind of liked the way it felt, so I started just doing these kneeling presses. If you got a bench with a back on it, that's good if you can use it. But I basically kind of got in the habit of doing these kneeling presses, and I kind of like them. Same thing with this bent over row. I have a bench. The bench, I don't think the camera's set up on the bench, and the camera's set up on this little kids table, but sometimes if I have the bench, I would use it. I honestly haven't been using it for the rows just because I've just not getting the habit of doing it for the rows and even kind of seated presses and things. So I've more or less been using the bench just for chest presses. But this kind of bent over row that you just saw me do, I actually prefer that sometimes versus a bench. And so what I'm doing with this workout and this sequence is trying to think of the person who has adjustable dumbbells in mind, maybe not necessarily a pair of power blocks. So what I basically wanted to do was make it so that the weight is it's the same weight. So you kind of, as each set, you'd kind of add more weight to it, and then you'd use that same weight to go into the rows. And if you want to, you'll see me later coming up here in a second, I start transitioning into single arm presses. And for whatever reason, I can usually, I think I start going up in weight, and to make it again easier, I think it's a little bit easier. My point is to actually do a single arm press than a dumbbell arm press when it starts to get heavier. If you're not using you're seating on a back of a bench. So this was, I want to say this is around 60 or 70 pounds with the power blocks. So you're seeing me kind of get a little bit of a little kind of nudge momentum with my hips there a little bit. But after that, and after this set of rows, you're going to see me jump into the single arm shoulder press, which again, in the past, I used to always do kind of standing up. I would clean the weight and then I would press it. For whatever reason, again, I just decided not to do it. I'm just kind of making it kind of simplistic. The more I go along, you notice the more I kind of start making things a little bit simpler. And then this is that single arm press right here. Some people have said that it looks harder than it really is. I think it gets like to 70 or 80 pounds in this press. It's really something, I think this is easier to press this way, kind of like in this kind of corkscrew type of mechanism where it's in front of you, then kind of twists around. Again, I can't promise this is going to feel good to everybody. It's something that, again, I kind of gradually worked on, but there's a little bit of a kind of a hip little thrust there, and also I'm not really trying to push it up with my hand. With the hand, maybe it's a little bit of an initiation from that very few degrees in that initial press. But it's one of my favorite presses to kind of do. This is something that I always feel like, even if you take years off, going back to kind of neuromuscular memory and efficiency of your muscles and joints, tendons, and ligaments, that I'm always kind of amazed that I could take months off not doing any of these single arm presses and then come back weeks later and still be able to, press that same amount of weight for whatever reason. So I think a lot of strength in general comes back to just that neuromuscular memory and efficiency, as long as you kind of keep at it, and assuming you're not detraining your muscles in general. So that's what I'm doing here. To make it easier, I just kind of keep going up in weight with this, or maybe I think at some point in this workout I do keep the weight the same, and then I just go right back into single arm rows. I think the last set of my single arm rows, though, I do go into kind of a couple heavier set of rows. I think I put to 100 or 90 pounds that this particular power block goes to. So I'll check back with you guys at the next section, which is me just kind of going into some single joint, shoulder, and arm stuff towards the end. All right, so I didn't count how many sets I did in that previous one, but a lot of sets I felt like in that press and row. And then this going into same thing. I do start doing a lot of sets. This workout did seem like it went a while. I want to say it was like an hour. This is one of those workouts I kind of get carried away. Granted, as always, I'm kind of going off doing different things on the computer, and kids are kind of popping in. But this is one of my favorites. I've said before, there's a limiting factor with how far I wish I get the hands a little bit further back in that rear fly, but I think rear flies are always good. Anytime you're working rear shoulders, I think are really good. They're a neglected body part for most people. Again, then going into this staple, I do it pretty much almost every arm workout. I go into this inverted row. So this is one of my favorite exercise in the machine, I would say, just as far as the way it feels and with the different varying degrees of tension, the way you can make it feel. So that's kind of a favorite. I think later on you see me do it. I do a different kind of almost like a preacher curl thing on this one that's a little bit different. I go into this inverted frontal raise, which again is something that I haven't really shown you guys too often. This is something that in the past, if I'm just kind of chaining exercises together, I might just kind of throw in there. And when it gets to be like towards the end of the workout, once you get kind of the main strength stuff out, or at least the main kind of higher intensity, harder presses out of the way, then by all means just go ahead and just start doing some, you can just start kind of going with things and basically doing some curls into those raises. And same thing if you're doing like a chest day, you can do some curls, go into some flies, or even do some like touch-up presses. I think I actually do some presses towards the very end of this workout, just because I'm assuming I didn't. Normally I try. Lately have been doing like the body part twice a week type of thing. So with the pressing, I had to do a little bit more. The point is I did a little bit of like touch-up kind of chest presses a little bit. But a lot of the stuff, as I always say, I'm not honestly not planning these things. I'm not really thinking about things. It's just kind of going off of feeling, basically. That's pretty much it. I mean, I can see this workout definitely is one that kind of goes a little bit longer, just judging where I am already in the time, that I actually do a lot more sets of kind of the single joint stuff, only because, again, I start doing a little bit more shoulder. I throw in some triceps, but basically I'm kind of supersetting between the arms and then doing some single arm shoulder stuff. So later on, I think at the 16-minute mark, there's going to be like some stuff where I lower this thing pretty low to the ground and I start doing some lateral raises. Again, it's another good exercise if you guys want to kind of throw into the workout that feels really good. As I said in the beginning, none of these things, I don't know if they look cumbersome or not, but everything I try and do, I try to keep it very kind of fluid. Especially when you get to the single arm shoulder stuff, I think in a second you're going to see me coming up to where I kind of lower it down to a lower setting. I think for most people, this low setting that you're going to see in about literally 3 seconds. I'm just kind of waiting until you guys see it here. But there it is. Okay, so right here, this is a nice setting, I think, for most people to do a lot of their shoulder work. If anything, actually going another step lower to kind of set up some exercises. So again, if you want to fast forward, eventually you'll see that at the 16-minute marker. But with these rear flies, I didn't get a chance to say it earlier, but really kind of getting more towards the front of that machine. This way you can really maximize that range of motion. So ideally you want that hand to get at least even with the shoulders, like as like a cross, but even a little bit further back would even be kind of ideal. So you'll see me kind of messing around with the lateral raises. Like I said, later you'll see me doing some lying curls. You'll see me do these preacher curl things that I started messing around with, and even just some lying tricep extensions is really slow and controlled, and basically messing with different angles throughout this workout. So that's it. If you guys have any questions or comments, you guys like this feedback, like the workouts, always helpful if you guys like the videos and subscribe. And if there's any other topic you guys want me to cover in the future, any questions I want me to cover in a video, I'd be happy to do that as well. Just let me know, and thanks for watching.